Hi, it's Jeff from discoverdouble-bass.com. That's the home of online double bass lessons. So if you want to watch more videos like this, please go and check out my online lessons library. And I also have a course on arpeggios as well. Now, today we're going to be talking about playing major 7 arpeggios in all 12 keys. And I'm going to teach you the fingering for that. We're going to play them over 1 octave, and I'll be talking about my preferred fingerings and some good alternative ones that you need to know as well. And to do it, we're going to use the circle of fifths. And for me, this is the best way to learn them. So let's get into the details. So I like to practice them moving through all keys. So you don't come up against this uncomfortable key, like G flat or, I don't know, B major, one of the tricky ones on the bass, and struggle. You need to know those notes inside out. And that's why we use the circle of fifths. Now, the circle of fifths is quite a big topic actually, and it can be used for several different things within music, but for today's lesson, all you need to know is that it's an order of notes that takes you through all 12 keys. So if we start in 1 key and we keep moving up in fourths or down a fifth, so that's the same thing, but today we're going to be calling it moving up in fourths. It suits the way the bass works. The bass is tuned a little better. So you start on 1 key, you move up a fourth. As you move all the way around, you eventually end back at the home key after moving through all 12 keys in a really musical way. And that's the key thing, that this movement between 2 chords is the most common movement between any 2 chords, moving up a fourth or down a fifth. So when we are practicing our arpeggios using this method, it means that we're going to be preparing the fingers and the hand for real music. So, don't worry too much if you don't fully understand the circle of fifths. Just start on C, keep moving up in fourths, and you'll move all the way around and you'll practice your arpeggio in all 12 keys. Well, let's get started with our major 7 arpeggios, and I suggest that you start in the key of C. There's no sharps or flats. And I also recommend that you practice these with the bow. I mean, you can do pizzicato as well if you prefer, but you can really hear your tuning more clearly, and I think it will help you play more in tune if you're using the bow than when you're playing pizzicato. So let's find this first note, C, with the 2nd finger. Now I'm going to just sound the open G there as a tuning anchor, so I can hear that that's in tune, the 5th. So that C is okay. Now the fingering that I'd like you to use is 2 on the C, 1 on the E, open G, and then you're going to have to shift 2 on the note B, and C with your 4th finger. Now, let's just check that pitch by using another tuning anchor, the C harmonic. That's okay, that's in tune. So it's 4, 2, open, 1, 2. Now, as I said earlier, we're going to be moving up a fourth each time. So let's move on to the next chord, F. And we'll play this arpeggio starting on the lowest available note. And in fact, that's actually a point that I missed. We'll always start on the lowest available root note. So we'll move up a fourth, that gives us F, and we'll start on this low root note. So just play the E first to help me find the F. There we are, so F, open A, C, E, F at the top, and the fingering is F with the 1st finger, open A, 4th finger on C, 2nd finger on E, 4th finger on F. Okay, moving on, B flat. So we've just moved up a fourth, and this is the reason why we move up a fourth rather than down a fifth, because it just works so well on the double bass. It's really neat. It's just across 1 string. So B flat now, B flat, D, open D, F with the little finger, A with the 2nd finger, and B flat with the little finger at the top. Now we're going to move on to E flat, open G, B flat, D, E flat. Now when we reach this D, because there's been a large shift, you might wish to check against the open D to make sure that you're in tune there. Now we move up a fourth again, and we're now in the key of A flat major. So this A flat is generally, there's a couple of different ways we play this arpeggio, but let's start with our fourth finger here. Now, this note A flat can be tricky to get the pitch right. So if we play the open G, and then the G with our second finger, that means our hand shape is in the right position, or our hand shape is right and our hand's in the right position, and then we just play the A flat with our little finger, C with our second finger, and this is the shift. E flat, open G, A with our first finger. A flat. A flat, G, E flat, C, A flat. And now we're moving up to D flat major. And I'd like you to start this one with your second finger. And to make sure that you're playing this in tune, try playing the open D and D with your fourth finger. So the D with your fourth finger should match the open D. So we know that that's in tune, we know the hand shape's good, it means our D flat will be okay. D flat, F, and you have to move the hand a distance of a semitone here. So D flat, F, a distance of a semitone means you can reach A flat with your fourth finger. C with our second, D flat. Now you can also practice your A flat major 7 arpeggio that we just worked on a moment ago this way. D flat. I think it's good to practice them both playing up the bass this way and then using the moving backwards in this direction. So with the D flat, the alternative fingering is to start on the D flat with your little finger. To get there, let's find the C against the open G, and then there's the D flat, D flat, F, and here there's a shift back. First finger on the A flat, and then all the way up to C. Now at that point I was a bit sharp, so let's try that again. That's better. C, D flat, C, A flat, F, D flat. And I think this is a really important alternative fingering because you're moving back into this really commonly played or commonly used area of the bass, which is half position, so you're in first and half, but then it gives you a really uncomfortable shift from the A flat all the way up to the C, and that's a hard one to play consistently in tune. Also, you've got two shifts with that fingering as opposed to one shift when you move from the F to the A flat in this direction. Of course, starting the D flat here is harder using your second finger than it is, playing up on the D string is harder playing the A flat here than here in some ways. So there's a bit of a balance between finding out which one works for you. And honestly, I think you should learn both because they both have their place. And don't forget, focus in on the shifts. The shifts are the key point, the A flat up to the C, and then just check, are you playing that correctly? Now the next key is G flat major. Let's use the open G to find the note G first of all with our fourth finger, and then just move down a semitone and you've got G flat. Okay, using the bow, G flat, B flat. So again, we're going 2-1 there. Shift, play, D flat with your little finger, F with your second finger, G flat with your little finger, G flat, F, D flat, B flat, G flat. And the next key is B major. That's okay. Then we move up a fourth again and it gives us the key of E. Now, we're moving around this circle of fifths here, so it's not too long till we get back to the beginning. Stick with me. E major, E, G sharp with our fourth finger, B with our first finger, and this is where we shift. D sharp, E, and of course we've got the open E as a tuning anchor. E, D sharp, shift back a semitone to play the note B, and then we're back down to E. Now the great thing about A major, same fingering, but starting one string across. A, C sharp, E, G sharp, A, G sharp, and then back again with the first finger, E, C sharp, A. D is very similar, but we run out of strings, so we've got to shift to C sharp, and then D. Now we move to G, and we go to the lowest available G note. So our lowest G is G just here, and we can reference with our open string, and this is the last one. Okay, G, B, D, F sharp with the fourth finger, open G. And now we're all the way back to C major 7, right where we started. We've been all the way through the cycle of fifths, and we've looked at the best fingerings and some really important alternative ones as well. There's a lot of material in this lesson, and I really would recommend, if you're not completely sure, go back and watch this playing bit again and maybe write down the note names, write down exactly what the fingerings are, really internalize this information and then practice the alternative shifts. It will really help you to get the most from your time. Now you can use this exercise to practice other chord types. So you could do minor 7 arpeggios or dominant 7 arpeggios, whatever you're doing, and it will move through all 12 keys and you'll really thoroughly learn the material. It does seem like a big job at first, but it's absolutely essential, particularly if you're a jazz bass player. You need this information into your fingertips. So stick at it. It's one of the best exercises that I've ever worked on, so I would really recommend that you take some time to do it. And if you want to learn more about arpeggios and the double bass, check out my course, which I'll provide links for underneath this video. You can learn about that. And of course, go and visit discoverdoublebass.com. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.